Today we're at Trade Tech 2012 on the 26th of April at the Excel Centre in London, and we're interviewing Leanne Parsons, Director of Equity Markets at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Leanne, start off by telling us a little bit about the past and present perspective of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, please.
Many people don't know we've been around for nearly 125 years, and in fact celebrate 125 years in November this year. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange is a fully fledged market that offers trading across cash equities, interest rates, commodity derivatives, financial derivatives as well as currency derivatives, and also is vertically integrated in terms of offering clearing and settlement. So we offer the entire value chain for the market participants.
Okay, and what opportunities exist on the high frequency end and on the arbitrage end? We've heard recently that you're involved in a possible BRIC initiative.
So a couple of things. The new technology that we're implementing for the cash equities market is really going to give us improved execution speeds and operational capabilities, which really starts to bring out the JSE as a player in the arbitrage market between the other execution venues that trade South African listed securities. On the BRICS Global Alliance, we launched that on the 30th of March. So you can actually get exposure to the index futures that's in Brazil, in India, in China and in Russia on the JSE in rands.
That's wonderful. Does that grow your domestic market as well as your overseas market?
Definitely. So it gives opportunities, particularly because also our government have been instrumental in assisting the growth of the market by changing the pension fund regulation to allow pension funds to invest more in derivatives because they're using a look-through principle to see what the underlying assets are. So that's going to spur ability for local institutions and local investors to get offshore exposure without having to go all the way offshore and do it through us.
How does one gain access to the exchange mechanisms? How does one trade through the exchange, either as an institutional or as a retail investor?
So if you're a fully fledged member, then you get access to the matching engines. If you're a retail investor, there are a number of online platforms that are offered by all our market participants, including direct DMA access to the market. Institutions typically will use more traditional mechanisms. They'll phone their brokers, and they might use some online OMS type solutions. But that's probably a more manual intensive process, and we are an institutionally dominated market.
In terms of milliseconds, I've heard you're putting in a pop in LD4, Equinix LD4 in Slough, and you're increasing or reducing your connectivity times. What kind of millisecond turnaround are we talking about?
So today, because the matching engine is in London, in the London Stock Exchange data centre, if you're an investor placing an order on the JSE, it goes from the London place down to the JSE broker in Johannesburg, back up to get matched in London, back down to the Joburg broker, and then you get the confirmation. Now we run two cable systems, so if we're on our faster cable system, that turnaround can be anywhere up to 400 milliseconds. The slower cable system can be around 800. We're now reducing that, and our SLA that we've published for our UK POP is 200 milliseconds. So we're at least halving any execution speed that the investor would experience today.
Can you give us an idea of what brokers allow direct market access to the JSE?
In fact, most of our brokers allow it either for retail participants on their online share trading platforms, or to international investors, to stat arbitrage players, to high frequency guys. We've been allowing DMA into the market since the 2007.
And give us an idea what other South African exchanges you've taken over, and also the non-equity markets you offer and their popularity, especially FX.
So we acquired the South African Futures Exchange in 2002, and then the Bond Exchange of South Africa in 2009. That's why we can offer all these product lines and all the products that were available on these exchanges. We currently don't do FX per se, but we do have currency futures. And we've listed currency futures on most of the well-known currencies against the rand. On the derivative side, not only can you get the index futures, you can get single stock futures, and you can also get commodity futures. So from maize to wheat to gold to platinum, and we've also got an arrangement with the CME where we actually use some of their benchmark products, and so you've got arbitrage opportunities between the Chicago market and the South African market.
And on the futures side, tell us, what are your most popular contracts?
Obviously the top line index, the TOPI, which is the top 40 index futures, the most popular contract and by far the most traded contract.
And tell us what you think of Trade Tech 2012 and how's that benefited you?
So for us, given we're South Africa and there's a lot of interest in Africa and emerging markets, we've had so much interest. We've had lots of people stop by the stand. We do think that the attendance is slightly lower than last year, so there's some things that I think the Trade Tech organizers are going to have to look at. But from our perspective, if you're not out there talking to people, if you're not uppermost in the mind, then people don't remember you. And certainly from a South African perspective, we're quite far away. So we've got to constantly work at it to make sure that people remember South Africa and the opportunities provided. We've been voted the best regulated exchange in the world twice in a row by the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Report. It's probably something that people don't really realize, how well structured and how well run the South African market is.
That's very interesting. Tell us how, talking about South Africa, how do you make it possible for other countries in Africa to trade, or other companies in Africa to trade on the exchange? Is that a growth area for you?
So we've got some conversations happening with some of our African exchanges on a couple of fronts. One is we might do some bilateral order routing arrangements. There's a couple of exchanges we're talking to about that. So their members can get access to South African products and our members can get access to other African products. We're working on some depository receipts, African depository receipts. We've recently launched some listings requirements in that regard. And then last we really have made some changes to our African board. So we've had some companies dual listed, but part of the problem with that is when people heard it's an African board, they didn't associate it with the main board, so they thought it was a different sort of board, perhaps with lesser requirements. What we've done is, working with those companies, we've actually put them into the main board, and we have a different way of flagging them to offer African product, because we actually have 12 other African securities that we've had listed but are actually not in the African board, they're in the main board of the JSE.
Well, Leanne Parsons, thank you very much.
Thank you.